I'm back again with my friend Art Wolfe, and we're going to have a great little chat here. I've been in many places with Art around the world. I think I was trying to count them up, but I think there's Greenland, Australia, Italy, Antarctica, Alaska, Svalbard, Atacama, Bolivia. We had a hell of a day in Rome one time too, didn't we? So
Oh, that was a great day in Rome.
anyway, Art's not only a good friend, and we've shared a big passion in photography, but he's a prolific book publisher. And today we want to talk about his latest book. And I have to tell you that there's always an Art Wolfe book on my coffee table. And there's going to be another Art Wolfe book on my table again. I think I looked last night, I've got Trees and The Human Canvas. If you haven't ever seen any of Art Wolfe's books, you can go to the link in the article as well as in the description below. But check his books out. He's published over 100 books in his lifetime so far, probably 120 or more. But I mean, that's a lot of books. But the Human Canvas, I still think, and that's of course how I connected with Art many years ago, is one of the finest published books I've ever seen. And when I show it to my friends that come over for print workshops and other things, they just are astounded that it's a photograph, and that's quite a bit of work. And it also is a deviation from your normal wildlife and landscape work.
You know, I've been fighting the perception that I'm a wildlife photographer for years. My background's painting and art and graphic design. And so, yeah, wildlife, and including this latest book, which is entirely about wildlife. But I try to be as broad a spectrum as I can. You know, I teach photography as art, where we go into degraded environments and find things that look like a William de Kooning or a Jackson Pollock. As you know, I do a lot of cultural work. I try to be as broad as I can. And the book I'm working on right now is called Act of Faith, which looks at all the world's religions and voodoo and shamanism and all the crazy things that people believe. But yeah, wildlife is where my name is definitely attached to.
Well, it might be attached to it, but all the other things that you do, and a book like The Human Canvas really kind of show how broad your scope is, where your influence comes from. The other thing I got to tell everybody that's listening is that if you have the opportunity to hear Art do a talk in public, he's got a creativity series and a whole lot of other things. You'll have a unique experience. It's not only motivating, it's beautiful, but no matter who you are, even if you're not a photographer, you can relate to what Art talks about, what Art shows, and kind of makes you want to be a photographer after you see them. So anyway, let's talk about the new book, Wild Lives.
Yeah, I've got a copy right here. You want me to lift it up?
Yeah, let's lift it up if you can. It's a big one.
Definitely the biggest book I've done so far.
Yeah.
And
look how
10 pounds.
Look how thick it is. I have the PDF of it. The bear cover, is that Katmai?
Yeah. And in fact, I know that bear. You know, that bear I photographed as a spring cub. And then for the following 4 years, I photographed it. Then suddenly it shows up with 3 babies of its own. And it routinely, when we go up there every year, the end of July and early August, we find this bear, and the bear finds us, and she brings her cubs to us, puts the cubs right down in front of us. And then she goes off 100 yards up the river fishing. She is smart, and other bears have clued in that when their cubs are close to humans, 4 bears, which would go after the cubs, the male bear, they don't come close to humans. And so the bears are using humans as protection for their cubs. I think it's a great story, and it is a true story.
Well, that's kind of cool. I mean, I've done Katmai with you, and I didn't know what to expect. It was quite an experience walking up a creek for a day and just having all this bear activity around you. And
it's really cool, isn't it? Because people that have read grisly accounts of bear maulings, they're really apprehensive of being in a environment with big brown bears. These are super grizzlies. And yet the grizzlies for a long time have reconciled that humans aren't a threat to them. Certainly not within Katmai or the greater Katmai environmental area. And so they are chilled out. They'll come within 5 feet of you with their cubs. And it's a pretty good experience. It makes you feel like you're part of nature.
It really, I was pretty affected by that when we were there, because we had the cub experience and the bears in the water and charging at what looked like they were charging at you, but a salmon right in front of you. Was a very cool trip. But that cover is just astounding. I think we all talked about getting that one shot where the bear is coming at you like that, and you the cover alone is just incredible.
Thank you. I say good things happen to bad people. I mean, I was lucky with that one. The bear came from a long ways away, was running straight at me, and I knew there was a pool full of salmon in between. And so I just stayed on point. And, Kevin, 10 years ago, we would never be able to get a shot like that. But technology is advancing so fast that autofocus, staying with a bear running straight at you, that's the reason I got the shot. I made the decisions to have a high ISO and great depth of field and fast enough action. But, these cameras these days are really making it better and easier for all of us.
It's pretty amazing. Remember that iceberg we did on our last Antarctica trip before they shut the world down? On the very last night or something, we're drifting by it. It's almost dusk, and we both stood shoulder to shoulder, and we're shooting high ISOs, which people said they should never do. And with the noise reductions and all the software that's out these days, especially what's in the new Lightroom these days, you don't even worry about it anymore.
It's a double-edged sword, right? Because when I first started out in the, let's see, what decade was it? Probably during the 80s, I was really getting into it. Okay. And, the animal had to be partially dead before you could get it in focus, because we had such low ISOs with our films. Now, everybody can actually get decent, if not really good photos. And it makes being a professional photographer that much more difficult.
A lot of things in photography, the way we know it, are changing, and a lot of photographers are having a hard time. Galleries are shutting down and closing, and photographers aren't selling prints, and so it's a whole new ball game. But it's great that everybody has the experience. But I think a lot of things happened during the pandemic. Not to blame the pandemic, but I think just new challenges have come out, and like a lot of times in our life, like switching from analog to digital, we're at another crossroad where we have to rethink how we photograph.
Well, I make the analogy, you have to be a crab on the beach. You have to run from the oncoming wave and then run back out. And if you stay stationary and locked into a certain set of things that you've historically done, you could be obsolete overnight. And so I think part of, success is to constantly evolve with the times.
That's the thing I think people have to be open to, especially you and I have adapted many times and have shared those experiences. But, that's a challenge that comes. But I think also looking at the new technology makes things even more exciting. Like the camera that Sony just announced, which is that new A9, that actually pre-records frames like for 5 seconds or whatever time frame you say before you even shoot the button. So it's always doing a loop. So you put the focus button down, and while that focus button's down, it's capturing whatever's going on. When you see like the bird take off and you push the button, by the time it takes off and you have the chance to push the button, it's already recorded those pieces of flight. So you now at 120 frames a second, I mean, you've got gazillion images, but you're capturing images you could never capture before.
Honestly, we're on the cusp of, if not already into it, AI. And with this book, Wild Lives, and I wanted to steer us back to this book, there's no captive animals in it. There's no digital manipulation, as critics would say. It is got no AI. And I think, sadly, we have to make those statements. I really didn't put that on the book because the book was already in process. But I think going forward, I think there will be a greater value on what people know to be real and wild and not manipulated or created.
It's going to be a challenge, but I think what astounded me when I shared the book with Deborah last night was the amount of wildlife you have photographed, the places you've been to photograph this wildlife. I mean, I was just taken back from everything. The birds, the four-legged creatures, the Africa, the northern and southern polar regions, It's what a body of work. I mean, it's taking you what, probably your lifetime in photography to collect enough images to do this, or
Well, the thing is that there are a few photos that date back even into the 80s, but for the most part, everything was shot in the last 5 years. And I don't want people to buy a book and say, oh my God, I've seen this in other books. That would be a big letdown. And so there is a handful of that of photos people might recognize from before, because it is a book of my favorite wildlife. There's no doubt about it. But for the last 5 years, I've been just on the road shooting from the Himalayas, underwater coral reefs. I went after as many charismatic animals, but also less known animals. But it is not a catalog of the world's animals. It's just my favorite photos taken over the last 5 years.
350 pages of photos with multiple images on some of those pages.
It's a big volume. And honestly, I believe it may be, this sounds arrogant, but I think it is probably the finest book on international wildlife by a single photographer produced. I mean, if that's not the bar I was trying to achieve, I came close to it.
Well, first off, I got to compliment you. Paper selection on the book was excellent. There's no bleed through of images from either side, which is probably accounting for a lot of the weight, the paper weight that goes in it. So, and the layout is really well done. So whoever did your layouts did great. But I think one of the things that I always appreciate about your books is the dialogue that's in the books. For example, when you made the book Trees, it's one of the first times I've ever sat down and read every single word in that in regards to the different species of trees that, you covered in that amazing book. And in this book, you have Gregory Green doing. This guy is amazing. How did you bump into him?
Over 30 years ago, he was a wildlife biologist down in Oregon, and I was doing a book on owls. And so I ran into him. I actually deliberately ran into him and started a lifelong friendship. Now, he has built a career and then eventually retired from being a wildlife biologist to being a teacher up at Western Washington College or university up in Bellingham, Washington. But when I asked him to write for this book, I thought, okay, I'm doing, I'm thinking I'm giving him a favor, and in fact, he did us a favor by agreeing to write. His words are eloquent and nuanced and not the type of writing that's scientific and dry and ultimately boring. He really took the challenge and did a great, great job on his words.
Well, I think he brings out a lot of the importance of what's going on in wildlife today, the challenges with climate change and other things that wildlife faces, not only, from the human side, but of course from, the environment side that, the wildlife faces. So I have to say, and I think that's what enjoys. It's fun to look at the pictures, and pictures are worth 1,000 words, but it's also interesting to get a little more intellect and a little more thought about what all this is really about, and the fact that we all live on the same planet together and face a lot of the same challenges. But he did an excellent job, so my hat's off to you on that one. Now, sounds like a great guy.
He is a really great guy. I just gave a talk in Portland, Oregon, a couple nights ago, and he was there, and we're signing books, and he gets up on stage and reads a couple passages from the book, and I know he's happy about it. I want to say that when I give my talks, I acknowledge that there's animal populations that are in trouble. There's no doubt about it. But there's also great stories that people would not necessarily know. And for instance, there's more whale species and more whales in the ocean than there has been since 1950. There's more mountain lions in North America than there's been in 200 years. Mountain gorillas, tigers, snow leopards, they're all, if not holding steady, they're on the increase. And so in our news these days, if it bleeds, it leads. You've heard that expression. Right. Negative news is what gets the headlines. But there's great stories out there. And I wanted to remind people that is not all hopeless, that we've showed time in and time out that looking towards a species, figuring out what's the trouble, rectifying that. We have bald eagles nesting in virtually every large Seattle park now. And I would never see a bald eagle when I was
Really? That's
living.
kind of cool.
So I think we need to balance the negative with positive stories, because if you give people hope, they're more likely to contribute or to lend a hand on environmental issues. And that was my personal take, and why I worked hard on this book was to offer encouragement to people and to educate people and inspire people. Those are the things that drive me as a human being.
Well, I can attest to that, obviously, sharing a lot of time with you over the years. But um, question for you, though. I mean, let's just back off to the technical side of things. I'm curious. A lot of people always want to know what it takes to publish a book. So to do a book, what are the steps you normally go through? Image selection and print. The time length it takes. What's involved?
War. It's war. It's war with the publisher. It's war with the designers. It's war with my own staff, because a good book really takes all different opinions. You can't just override because this is your favorite book and have all the photos that you want in the book. No, it's compromise. And in that compromise becomes a better book. And so the publisher had his own ideas. Thankfully, the publisher has done most of my recent books and is really got the same aesthetic that I do. And that is why when you open a book that size, you're not losing half the image in the gutter of a book. It's about how you bind the book. And as you pointed out, the paper choices, the printing. I love working with this publisher because the book looks better than I ever expect. And that is always the great moment when you open the book for the first time. But it is overshooting, selecting down, letting go of some of your favorite shots. And it's all about compromise. And then the editors have to edit down Greg's writing because he writes more than can be published in a book. And so we all are adults at this point, somewhat. And it's just how all these different entities come together to produce a really nice book that entertains, educates, inspires.
Mission accomplished. So how can people get a hold of this book?
They can buy it through Costco. They can buy it through a local bookstore if they stock it. And if they want personal inscriptions, they come to artwolfe.com and virtually, if I'm in Seattle, I will inscribe, to the particular people. And I've been doing that for the last 3 or 4 days. And yeah, this time of the year, I mean, the book came in late. It came in November rather than in September when most fall books come out. What happened is in India, there was a COVID outbreak during the months of March and April, and a lot of people were affected, and they shut down the presses. And so everything got backed up. It wasn't as bad as the year of COVID where everything was locked up in freighters floating around in front of cities, but it did slow down the process. But I think this book will sell as I travel the country and give talks. And we're looking at Chicago, Indianapolis, Chicago, Washington, New York, all the expected cities, as much as we can get me in, because I'm still working on 4 other books right now. And so it's teaching workshops, it's guiding tours, it's giving talks about the book. There is no days off in my life, and people laugh at that, but the people that really know me would agree. And I think you realize that of me. I'm not a vacationer. I love work. It's passion. It's everything I'm involved with. I love working.
I think we share that in common. I have a lot of friends that, were insurance salesmen or worked regular kind of jobs. And, they retired and walked out the door one day and never turned around. And people say, well, when are you going to retire, Kevin? I said, well, why would I want to retire?
I'll retire when I drop dead somewhere in the forest.
Yeah, that's it.
I think that I teach a lot of workshops, and in fact, you have to be part psychologist to teach a workshop. And there's so many people that have made their money through being doctors or lawyers or whatever it may be. And then they want to know how they make money from their work. And it's like, come on, you made your money. Why not use photography as passion? The minute you try to struggle making a buck from your work, then stress and anxiety comes. And so keep it fun, keep it a passion, and live a longer life because of that. It's the reason I get out of bed. Yeah, I do make money from the work, but I've got a staff of 5 people that all have benefits from healthcare and all that. So that means I've got to really stay on the road, and I'm fine. I'd rather do that than get lazy and watch TV all day long and probably check out of Earth, years early.
Yeah, but I hear you on that, and I think when you have the passion of photography, people go, "Well, you've been shooting since you were like a teenager." I said, "Yeah," and a lot of people say they get burnt out, but I have never yet found burnout in my life. I I turn around and pick up something new in photography, try something different. There's always a project I wake up with this morning. Like this morning, I woke up and had my coffee and read through the PDF of the book, and couldn't wait to talk to you again. And there's every day has a special moment. Last week we were in Antarctica, and the guy on the ship, the photographer on the ship, had a drone permit, and he photographed the bubbling bubble feed of the humpbacks.
Oh, wow.
And they actually create a whole spiral as they come up. And he's got the pictures of them coming up. Like, you talk about a moment where we're 50 feet away from them in zodiacs, but we can't see that part. And we were just on hundreds of whales. It was an incredible whale day for one of those trips.
I'm sure the photographer got great shots. I also have aerial shot of bubble net feeding with whales in the middle, because it is, from a water point of view, it is very difficult. Now, I've got some drone shots in the book of a blue whale and Sea of Cortez, or an aerial shot over the Great Migrations. And so you get special permission and you do it right. And people often either love drone shots or they hate them. But even the ones that hate hearing a drone love the pictures from it. And, I only cite the BBC and Attenborough's work that often is made up of a lot of drone shots. People love that. And then they hear a drone and then they get all pissed off over it. So it's kind of a love-hate relationship.
It is a love-hate, but it does give a perspective that, I've seen a few pictures of that, but I've never seen a video so well done. And to think that these whales coordinate and spin around and bubble the whole time before they come up, because it's usually 2 or 3 of them in one of those things. But I think what I'm coming back to is that, even while you're photographing the wildlife, being there next to wildlife, especially like whales, when, they're popping up 5 feet from your zodiac, and that these are magnificent creatures, and they're talking, and the noise and it's just the experience alone. You put the camera down and just dig the experience. And, I think when I look at all the pictures in your book, those experiences, if I got that from just the whales, what you must get from doing all those images that you've done in the book.
It's too much to process at once. You look through the photos and it triggers the memory. I suck at remembering names, honestly, because I give a lot of public talks and the next day it's somewhere else. But I can remember the story around any photo I've ever taken, including the very first photo, wildlife photo, which is in the lead of the book. It's a moose shot in 1968 from a canoe up in Canada. And I can remember everything around that. And so it makes for a good series of conversations when you're in the public, recalling the story around the photo. You don't hesitate. You've got it right in your mind. And so those memories, as you say, and I agree, you look through the book and everything comes back alive. And I love that feeling.
Yeah. I mean, I looked at we had that Arctic fox in Svalbard. You have that picture in the book where it grabbed that chick from up top of the cliff and came running down to the beach with it. That was like an extraordinary moment. You have in the section on the Arctic, I think you have the picture of the polar bear on that tundra area that we found in that snowstorm that day, way far away, but still such a, to see that animal in that landscape was like.
Are you referring to the one that it's got all red carpet?
Yeah, all red, up on the hill.
That was so beautiful. That was in East Greenland, and it was so beautiful. But
Yeah.
it's tiny in the frame. You know,
Yeah,
it's
it is
really
tiny in the frame. I think we were on different zodiacs, but it was just like, wow, sometimes you don't have to have that full animal in the picture to understand that the picture in that case was the animal in the landscape. It was just, you did a double page of that one there, and that was really cool to see. I mean, I could talk forever with you about this, and, as we've done many times before, but to all my viewers and readers, this this is an extraordinary book again by Art Wolfe, and I stress that it's one, get this book and look at it, because if you're a photographer and ever do wildlife, you'll certainly appreciate it. I think it's selling for around $95, if I'm not
yeah, and
mistaken.
it's probably slightly cheaper somewhere, in the like Amazon. Although I think they're holding steady at the real price. It really is $100 book. I mean, when you pick it up and look at the breadth of it and the quality of it, it is $100 book. We do also sell a $500 version with a clamshell box and a print and all of that. But yeah, the $95 book is a real, it's an honest price.
It's not only an honest price, but it's an investment that you'll look at time and time and time again, and especially if you have friends and other people over, like Deborah and I a lot of times do, and the books are on the coffee table, and we have a big coffee table, and we encourage people, pick these books up and you pass them around and say, we know this guy, and look at this shot. Kevin was with this guy when he shot that one, and it's just, there's such great photography in it. So
Thank you.
I have to compliment you. It's an amazing book. I'm happy. I can't wait for my copy to come, but it's quite an accomplishment, and
Thank you.
I'm proud to call you my friend. And you were my best man at my wedding too, which was kind of fun.
Was I the flower girl or the best man, though?
Oh, we're the best man. Even though you picked your own flowers, yeah,
No, that was
great.
a great experience, and everything you said towards me goes right back to you, Kevin. You're a great
Nice.
guy, and I will look forward to working with you in the future.
Anyway, Art, thank you for all the time, the friendship, and this book, which we look forward to sharing with a lot of our friends. Your accomplishments are great, and I look forward to hopefully seeing you when you visit Indianapolis to do a talk here, which I will work further on with your team.
We're going to
So,
get that scheduled.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Anyway, I appreciate the time. We could go on forever, but we don't want people cutting out of the video too soon. So, I'll have some pictures on the article, on the book, and please check out PhotoPXL if you're on the YouTube side of things, where you'll see a little more detail about all this. And Art, to all you and your team, appreciate it very much. Let's talk sometime again real soon.
Okay. Thank you, Kevin.